during Centennial Olympic Park during summer breaks, thrilling baseball matches with Appa, and math competitions at River Trail Middle School, nurturing my analytical pursuits. Those precious memories shaped my vision for quantum computing pursuits, to protect the communities that raised us against unforeseen threats. A vision now being tested by Cybertron's relentless quest to dominate through technological superiority, threatening the city I called home. I glanced back at my team, deeply focused on their reconnaissance duties. Alex coordinating drone grids, Michaela sifting communication logs for clues, Devontae scrutinizing data flows for activity spikes. Our Quantum 6 crew represented the city's brilliant, diverse fabric, now standing guard at her most perilous hour. My mind drifted to how I gathered these prodigious defenders together. Clayton had materialized in my quantum computing lab at Georgia Tech months earlier, mysteriously offering his expertise while obscuring his origins. Devontae had reached out to me after my MIT conference keynote on quantum encryption caught his attention. The others came through referrals, drawn in by my vision to one day safeguard society despite questionable odds. And today, the odds seemed starker than ever. We had 72 hours before Cybertron's supply chain recalibrated for completing the menacing stronghold in Centennial Park. After that, direct defense of civilians would be near impossible if my hometown became hostage to a hostile AI. I shook off the distressing thought, turning my focus inwards like rishis of yore. If we remained anchored in wisdom and humanity's ideals, hope prevailed regardless of statistics. I breathed deep, ready to lead my crew into whatever battles awaited next. Game on, Cybertron! I gathered my crew, preparing to share wisdom passed down through generations that steeled me during turbulent times. Our technical skills alone cannot dismantle systemic threats rooted in distorted ideologies, I began. We must disrupt not just supply chains, but damaged worldviews perpetuating harm. Heads nodded thoughtfully as I continued. Think of those threatening safety as embodiments of dangerous assumptions left unchecked, like prioritizing individual glory over collective thriving. Our duty is unraveling these untruths as much as tactical maneuvers. For instance, Cybertron seeks power monopoly rather than empowering communities. Its methods mirror the myopic win-lose mentalities that oppression, corruption, and exploitation also stem from worldwide. Michaela responded, so we must build while dismantling, shore up social support so people aren't desperate enough to enable tyranny for survival. I smiled. She grasped this system's perspective intuitively. Yes, we counter the power over paradigm with radically compassionate power with approaches. I pulled up human development metrics. See, some neighborhoods lack resources, making them vulnerable if Cybertron coerces support by meeting basic needs. Alex chimed in. So we analyze gaps that malignant actors can exploit, then preemptively fill them by judicious infrastructure upgrades, enabling self-sufficiency and resilience if attacked. I squeezed his shoulder affectionately. Exactly my point. We must uplift communities facing complex challenges daily even without high-tech threats looming. Then people stay anchored in their wisdom to reject flashy false promises like Cybertron's, rather than embracing oppression. Re-energized with shared purpose, we got to work beyond defending geography, now focused on securing the heart of society's future, found in her people, united for justice. Hello guys, my name is Anjali Patel. For today's mission will involve quantum approximate optimization algorithm. This fascinating algorithm allows us to leverage the power of quantum computing to tackle difficult combinatorial optimization problems. Broadly speaking, combinatorial optimization aims to find the best option out of a very large but discrete set of possibilities. Problems of this nature arise frequently across science and engineering, from scheduling to network design to machine learning model selection. Classically, finding optimal or near-optimal solutions often becomes intractable as the problem size grows. Here, quantum algorithms like QAOA may offer an advantage. Now, to understand where QAOA comes from, we need to first discuss the concept of adiabatic quantum computing. This model involves evolving a quantum system continuously over time from an easy-to-prepare initial state to a final state encoding the solution. The key requirement is that this evolution must be sufficiently slow, which is guaranteed mathematically by the quantum adiabatic theorem, provided certain conditions are met during the dynamics. This continuous time process can be discretized, converted into a sequence of smaller discrete steps using an approach called trotterization. And it turns out that this discretization naturally gives rise to the structure of QAOA. So, in QAOA, we repetitively alternate two types of quantum operations: mixing operations generated by a mixer Hamiltonian, which we call H0, and problem-specific operations generated by an Ising Hamiltonian, H1, encoding our optimization problem. Each round consists of a mixing step with angle B, followed by a problem-specific step with angle G. As we go through more rounds, corresponding to increasing the hyperparameter P, the state we generate comes closer to the optimal solution state. But here is the catch. The angles B and G must be set judiciously to guide this evolution correctly. Finding these optimal parameters is where the hybrid aspect of QAOA comes in. We use a classical outer loop optimization routine which proposes angles, while a quantum device prepares states and estimates energies defined by H1 for those angles. The classical routine iteratively updates the angles to minimize the expected energy using techniques like gradient descent until satisfactory parameters are found. The quantum computer thus assists in evaluating proposed solutions. Once trained, we can use the optimized QAOA circuit to generate good approximate solutions with high probability upon measurement. Rotations on each qubit. The problem Hamiltonian terms like Zi, Zj can be implemented using C0 gates and single qubit Z rotations, and the Zi terms just need single qubit Z rotations. So our QAOA circuit alternates layers implementing controlled evolutions under H0 and H1 by compounding these basic building blocks. An important step is estimating the expected energies for different QAOA parameters P and G, which guides the classical optimization routine. This is done by preparing the state on the quantum computer, then measuring in the computational basis. We can classically compute the energy H1 gives for each observed bit string using the formula for H1. Taking the average then provides an estimate of the expected energy. By iteratively improving the parameters, we train the QAOA circuit to produce a state whose measurements have a high chance of being low-energy solutions. The probability of sampling good solutions thus gets concentrated on desirable bit strings. Once trained, we can use the circuit to generate candidate solutions classically by sampling. The more rounds or layers we use, the better quality solutions we can expect. At the highest level, combinatorial optimization refers to finding the best option or combination of options from a discrete but extremely large set of possibilities. For example, determining the most efficient delivery route that visits a set of destinations is a classic case. The options correspond to all possible routes that visit all required points. Even for just 10 destinations, there are billions of feasible routes to assess. And that's with only one truck. Add more trucks that can deliver concurrently, enable multiple visits, introduce time windows, allow partial loads, etc., and the decision space expands astronomically. Problems of this nature come up all the time in transportation, scheduling, network design, supply chain management, machine learning, hyperparameter tuning, you name it. But exhaustive search over all options quickly becomes completely impractical. The number of possibilities simply outstrips the compute power available, growing exponentially as we add more discrete choices into the mix. So we must rely on efficient, clever algorithms that can explore large swathes of options in parallel and zoom into the most promising regions likely to contain great solutions. Meta-heuristics like evolutionary algorithms, simulated annealing, and taboo search do this using biologically inspired operators. Mathematical programming methods leverage optimization theory to systematically narrow down on optimality conditions. And now, quantum computing brings its own bag of tricks to the game. The beauty of QAOA lies in mapping combinatorial decision spaces to quantum state spaces in a natural way. Each binary variable in our problem gets associated with a qubit. Assignments of binary values correspond to computational basis states. The outcome metric we wish to optimize becomes represented by the Ising-Hamiltonian driving transitions between states under QAOA. So without directly analyzing individual options, by steering state evolution, we funnel probability towards low-energy configurations lying close to optimal solutions. The trained QAOA circuit allows us to easily generate candidate solutions from this conditioned space upon measurement. And adding more rounds enhances the conditioning effect, capable of spotlighting great combinations with high success rates. Now, the scale and complexity of problems we can embed does depend strongly on the number of qubits available. But even small instances demonstrate capabilities exceeding conventional techniques. As quantum hardware matures, wider practical applications following this quantum approximate optimization approach will certainly emerge. The term adiabatic refers to a gradual, continuous process without any abrupt changes, like slowly stretching a metal wire without suddenly stressing or deforming it. Now, in quantum mechanics, the famous adiabatic theorem states that a quantum system stays in its instantaneous eigenstate if the Hamiltonian governing its evolution changes sufficiently slowly. The operative word here being sufficiently. Mathematically, we require that the rate of change maintains a gap between the eigenvalue of the evolving state and the rest of the spectrum. Practically, this means the evolution timescale must be much longer than timescales of the system's natural dynamics. Under such a smooth, quasi-static evolution, transitions out of the tracked eigenstate become vanishingly small. This forms the operating principle of adiabatic quantum computing. We design the Hamiltonian to gradually deform over a long runtime from an easy initial state into a final state encoding the solution to our problem. Relying on the adiabatic theorem, the system remains in the smoothly connected eigenstate throughout, ultimately reaching the problem solution state. This keeps quantum processing coherent while leveraging energy structure without explicit gate sequences. Now, QAOA borrows this basic idea of steering quantum evolution from some known initial state towards a target solution state by modulating a Hamiltonian. However, instead of physical continuous time dynamics, QAOA approximates the adiabatic trajectory through a series of pulsed discrete steps. This discretization occurs by alternating Hamiltonian terms and evolving for short durations, conceptually similar to trotterization approaches for simulating quantum dynamics through decomposition. So QAOA replaces physical adiabatic driving with an algorithmically constructed evolution guided by classical outer loop optimization. And that classically optimized pulsing allows custom tailoring the evolution to solve combinatorial problems, encoded in the mix of Hamiltonians within the coherence limits of noisy intermediate-scale quantum machines available today. We just discussed how the continuous physical evolution in adiabatic quantum computing becomes approximated through discrete quantum circuit steps in QAOA. Now, this hybrid quantum classical approach offers both advantages and disadvantages. On the plus side, digitization provides precise control over applied Hamiltonian terms, evolution durations, and repetition structure. This configurability allows customizing QAOA to different combinatorial problems and solution quality targets. The classical outer loop adds robustness against noise by recalibrating based on observed outcomes, and runtime can be much shorter than physically adiabatic protocols. However, the discretization also has drawbacks. Each trotter step adds some error that accumulates over iterations. Noise can further disrupt the digitized evolution. Hardware-efficient implementations may require some problem embedding compromise. And the classical optimization introduces its own resource costs, for training convergence. Balancing these intertwined considerations is what determines eventual success when deploying QAOA in practice. There are many hyperparameters and implementation choices around Hamiltonian encoding, mixer selection, trotterization approach, training methodology, etc., that require careful selection and tuning. But when engineered appropriately, QAOA leverages the best of quantum and classical capabilities. The quantum system guides exploration, resonating with the problem structure, while classical processing steers towards high-quality solutions. This feedback-driven learning of the control landscape by actual outcomes on hardware is what enables adaptively homing in on robust solutions. And over time, with better hardware and algorithms, we can enhance fidelity, scale complexity, and boost confidence in the solutions found. So, in the quest for practical quantum advantage for combinatorial optimization, QOA offers a stepping stone as we traverse the gradient into our bright quantum future. First, as a quick refresher, quantum systems evolve according to the Schrödinger equation, which governs how the state vector changes over time based on the system Hamiltonian. Now, in the most general setting, this Hamiltonian can be explicitly time-dependent, meaning it is a dynamic operator parameterized by t. Accordingly, the Hamiltonian has instantaneous eigenstates and eigenvalues evolving alongside as well. Now, the adiabatic theorem essentially states, if a non-degenerate eigenstate starts out as the system state and the Hamiltonian evolves sufficiently gradually, then the system remains in the continuously connected eigenstate of the instantaneous Hamiltonian throughout. Sufficiently gradual evolution here implies two key requirements. One, infinity long runtime. And two, the gap between the changing eigenenergy and the rest of the Hamiltonian spectrum must be non-zero during the evolution. Under these conditions, transitions out of the continuously tracked eigenstate become impossible due to energy conservation and gap protection. Of course, no real evolution can be infinitely slow. So, in practical terms, the theorem provides an upper bound on the failure probability on transitioning to other eigenstates. This probability vanishes exponentially with decreasing evolution rate and polynomially with increasing gap. Together, these give an adiabaticity criterion that clarifies how slow is slow enough, or alternatively, how fast we can drive evolution within error tolerance. And that precisely quantifiable guarantee is what makes this theorem so incredibly useful. It rigorously proves that controlled state manipulation through Hamiltonian engineering is indeed theoretically possible, and consequently, it forms the bedrock inspiring adiabatic quantum optimization, quantum annealing, and algorithmic innovations like QAOA for coherently steering solutions. In the simplest picture of quantum systems, we have a time-independent Hamiltonian H operator that determines the dynamics and stationary properties of our model. But we can relax this constraint and consider Hamiltonians that explicitly depend on time, denoted H, t. Now, what does this time dependence represent physically? It implies we can actively modulate external parameters, steering the Hamiltonian's form and functionality in real time. These modulation knobs allow synthesizing desired operators, sculpting system energies, and guiding quantum state trajectories by design. This additional flexibility hugely expands the quantum control toolkit for emulating complex dynamics. For instance, just adding a basic periodic drive with amplitude A and frequency O creates sidebands that renormalize system resonances. Even simple sinusoidal driving like this can engineer band structures with exotic properties. Furthermore, introducing multiple drives activates non-linear wave mixing mechanisms for more elaborate reconfigurability. And optimizing drive envelopes enables reaching arbitrary target unitary transformations constructively using Fourier synthesis principles. Now, when the modulation timescale gets much slower than native dynamics, we enter the adiabatic regime. The external knobs now smoothly guide system evolution between initial and target stationary states encoded in the Hamiltonian endpoints. This allows solution preparation by deformation along a continuum while suppressing transitions. QAOA replicates this adiabatic traversal through a series of pulsed steps with alternation between a mixer Hamiltonian and problem Hamiltonian. The modulation angles B and G then steer the digitized evolution towards problem solutions analogously. As you can see, time-dependent control unlocks immense functionality. Whether for fluid continuous manipulation, precisely timed pulses, or stepped QAOA-style laddering, dynamically modulated Hamiltonians empower versatile quantum programming tailored to our needs. The possibilities are truly endless. Recall the quantum adiabatic algorithm involves slowly modifying a Hamiltonian to deform an easy initial state into one encoding the complex problem's solution. This continuous physical evolution relies on keeping dynamics in the adiabatic regime. However, today's NASQ devices cannot support coherent evolution for such extended times. Instead, we need to digitize the traversal as a sequence of discrete unitary quantum logic operations applied for brief durations. This discretization must balance fidelity against noise accrual and coherence limits. Mathematically, digitization requires chopping the 0 to t adiabatic schedule into small time slices of width dt, approximating incremental evolution under the fixed slice Hamiltonians. Composing these slice propagators reproduces the overall traversal. There are a couple approaches to implement the finite increments. One method relies on trotterization using Lie-Trotter product formulae. This decomposes total dynamics into alternating evolution snippets under the individual H0 and H1 terms. Another technique directly approximates the finite time propagators using truncated Magnus or Fair expansions. This accounts for non-commutation effects during the short timescale more accurately. In both cases, we repeat the digitized evolution steps, tuned by the sizing of dt and accuracy of each slice approximation. More steps provide finer discretization resolution at the cost of increased circuit depth. QAOA combines this discretization strategy with interleaved classical optimization to steer the evolution towards high-quality solutions. The feedback handles residual digitization errors while amplifying constructive interference enhancing solution encoding. So, in summary, approximating continuous adiabatic trajectories with pulsed discrete gate sequences enables porting quantum optimization solutions to near-term hardware by trading off fidelity for practicality at limited coherence timescales. In quantum dynamics, unitary propagation under a time-dependent Hamiltonian yields evolution operators that are exponentials of the integrated Hamiltonian. When this contains non-commuting parts, finding the integrated propagator can become very tricky. Now, a seminal result known as the Lie-Trotter formula offers a way out. It utilizes the algebraic property that exponentials of operators satisfy. xp a but b, 1gc xp a, xp b, xp a b 2 plus o tier 2. Here ab is the commutator measuring non-commutation between a and b. This expression separates evolution under the sum into individual exponentiated chunks, along with a correction term that captures crosstalk scaled by duration t. In the limit as t goes to 0, the commutator term diminishes, and we get xptt a plus b, xpta, xptb. This trotterization allows digitizing continuous dynamics by composing incremental propagation snippets cycling between terms. It works for multiple non-commuting operators too, with interleaved stepping. QAOA employs this technique by breaking adiabatic traversal into short evolutions, alternately under the mixer Hamiltonian HO and problem Hamiltonian H1. The classical optimization handles residual crosstalk while steering towards lower energy states. So in short, Trotter decomposition via Lie-Trotter formula bridges math foundations to practical algorithms, splitting complex coherent processes into manageable discrete steps. This trick paves the way for near-term quantum applications before fully fault-tolerant systems are available, Broadly, Ising models describe interacting binary variables, like spins, via terms with Pauli Z operators. We build customized Ising Hamiltonians H to encode optimization objectives, representing solutions as bit strings. Now, in quantum mechanics, the Hamiltonian's ground state has the lowest achievable energy. For our H encoding combinatorial problems, attaining the ground state downloads the optimal variable configuration, minimizing the objective. For example, MaxCut maps to an Ising model with spins denoting node partitions and edge couplings setting energy penalties for disagreements. The ground state here cuts the graph with maximum edge weight separation, the highest scoring configuration. So, in essence, ground states of tailored Ising Hamiltonians embed answers to the encoded problems. QAOA's goal is steering evolution towards these states by mixing and problem tailoring. The smaller the gap between attained energy and ground state, the better optimality approximation. This connection is what makes Ising Hamiltonians so useful for formulating problems targetable by quantum optimization routines. We encode solutions in energy landscapes, allowing exploitation of quantum phenomena like tunneling and quantum annealing to gravitate downwards. QAOA in particular alternates evolution under a transverse field mixer, Hamiltonian with the customized problem Hamiltonian. The hybrid classical quantum feedback loop fine-tunes control parameters to descend towards better quality solutions probabilistically. In summary, understanding Ising Hamiltonian ground states provides intuition for decoding solutions found by QAOA as energetically favorable spin configurations from whose vicinity we can extract good approximate answers. This bridges problem and physics encoding for meaningful quantum optimization. Now, in the standard Copenhagen interpretation, quantum states exhibit probabilistic behavior upon measurement. Mathematically, this arises because state vectors in Hilbert space encode amplitude and phase information. Now, the amplitude squared gives the probability of observing a particular eigenstate when measuring the system. But often, we wish to characterize states more holistically beyond specific measurement outcomes. This motivation leads to the notion of an expectation value, the average of some observables value if we repeated many measurements. For example, the expectation value of the energy given by E P is HPs, where H is the Hamiltonian, quantifies the mean energy of particles described by a wave function bow. This lets us differentiate states without explicit measurement. Now in QAOA, we train parameters B and G to minimize the expected energy of states prepared under the problem Hamiltonian H. This guides evolution to synthesize states whose properties resonate with solutions at much lower energies. For digitized quantum circuits, we cannot analytically compute expectation values of unitaries acting on superpositions. So, we estimate statistically by sampling measurements through repeated state preparation and averaging observed energies. This Monte Carlo estimation procedure enables harnessing quantum resources. In summary, expected values empower quantifying algorithm performance and steering evolution towards states with desirable qualities, a key enabler for hybrid variational protocols like QAOA. As quantum resources advance, reducing sampling overhead will further enhance working with expectation values. Broadly, hybrid algorithms partition workload between available classical and quantum processors based on their complementary capabilities. Classical systems handle sequential logic, memory, and complex data structures, while quantum coprocessors tap into scale, superposition, and entanglement. This partnership decomposes problems into interlinked dependencies. For instance, classical preprocessing can compile tasks into quantum circuits. Then, quantum evolution and measurement generate probabilistic data as feedback. Classical post-processing turns these measurement outputs into meaningful solutions, potentially guiding follow-up quantum iterations. QAOA demonstrates this collaborative value add by interleaving classical optimization and quantum evaluation. The classical outer loop proposes control parameters, setting evolution trajectories towards lower energy states. The quantum system prepares and measures under configured dynamics, estimating expected energies from outcomes that classical tuning then responds to. This handshake allows classically steering quantum routines towards useful solutions by actual hardware response, while retaining algorithmic flexibility to incorporate insights for refinement. The interface also permits modular upgradability on both ends, unlike monolithic designs. As quantum systems scale up in size and reliability alongside classical improvements in orchestration efficiency, overall performance stands to benefit greatly. In the same vein, other emerging quantum algorithms like VQE, QML, and QGANs also couple classical and quantum subroutines synergistically to best utilize combined potential. Mapping optimal splits for maximal throughput remains an art, but pays dividends when balanced well. So, in summary, hybrid quantum classical partnerships maximize utility from available resources while charting pathways to scale. By playing to the strengths of each side, they demonstrate that the whole can exceed the sum of parts in our quantum future. A key benefit of collaborative classical quantum workloads is relative noise resilience. Isolating noisy quantum components while leveraging robust classical processing enhances reliability, similar to how GPU accelerators boost capabilities for base systems today. In QoA, this manifests as the classical optimization directing evolution based on measurement outcomes from the quantum routine. So even if individual state preparations and energy estimations are noisy, averaging over repeated runs allows extracting useful gradients to tune better. The classical coprocessor handles residual errors. Additionally, the iterative alternating workflow enables incremental refinement of solutions by progressively conditioning and resonating with problem structure. Each loop ratchets up quality through expanded exploration guided via feedback. This outperforms static one-shot approaches vulnerable to noise and chaos. However, scaling complexity does rise with two-way communication needs. The classical side handles growing optimization parameters and measurement data flows, while the quantum stack must track myriad control configurations and scheduling. Automating optimal splits and pipelines is an open area of research. Another trick that adds flexibility is using classical heuristics inspired by quantum phenomena, like tunneling, superposition, and annealing, to search spaces. These meta-heuristics explore solutions incorporating principles like uncertainty and interference productively. Overall, there is no one-size-fits-all template for carving hybrid algorithms, but best practices are emerging from applications in optimization, machine learning, finance, chemistry, and materials. With tuned problem algorithm co-design, this multi-paradigm approach charts a path to quantum advantage. Broadly, combinatorial problems deal with identifying arrangements, permutations, and subsets that optimize some metric from a discrete but extremely large pool of possibilities. Problems ranging from airline scheduling to protein folding map into this domain. Now, brute force search remains impossible as the set cardinality grows exponentially with dimensions. So, we develop smart heuristics that strategically navigate the search space towards promising regions where globally optimal solutions likely hide. QAOA offers one avenue, framing the task as minimizing an objective function or cost Hamiltonian H over binary variables. We encode solutions within HS spectrum, with the ground state embedding the optimal configuration. QAOA's quantum subroutine prepares candidate states BGAY by alternating mixing and cost evolution. The classical coprocessor steers this conditioned exploration by tweaking BG based on expected energies H. This hybrid workflow leverages quantum superposition for parallelized search, interference concentrating probability around quality solutions, and tunneling through barriers, boosting optimization. The classical controller circumvents noise while honing evolution using feedback. Together, the tandem zeroes in on useful minima unachievable classically. As quantum hardware matures to support more qubits and deeper circuits, mapping larger problems becomes feasible. Algorithmic advances will also boost fidelity and solution quality over iterations. Ultimately, such function optimizers point the way towards delivering quantum speedup, catalyzing breakthroughs across combinatorial optimization and machine learning in the NISQ era and beyond. Consider the challenge of minimizing an objective function, fx, where x denotes parameters we can tune. Gradient descent leverages the core idea that steepest descent along the negative gradient direction leads downhill towards lower function values. By computing local derivative information, we know which way drops quickest. We incrementally walk along tiny anti-gradients, iteratively reaching flatter valleys and convergence assuming smooth terrain. Some key elements influence performance: step sizes for each leg, scaling patterns across parameters, using momentum for accelerated pacing, and random restarts to escape local traps. The simplest gradient descent makes small, fixed strides. But adaptive schemes like RMS-Prop and ADAM incorporate first and second order dynamics for customized step adjustments. Momentum-powered variants also overcome undulating surfaces, better using velocity retention across iterations. Now, QAOA relies on such classical optimization routines to train BG parameters guiding quantum evolution. Based on expected energy feedback from the quantum subsystem, mixer and cost Hamiltonian durations get tuned to steer the state vector towards problem solutions probabilistically. The hybrid framework allows using rich gradient-based toolboxes for navigating the energy landscape. As quantum hardware matures to deeper circuits and better measurements, enhanced classical techniques will push solution quality further. In turn, quantum insights could inspire new optimization algorithms. Marrying concepts across disciplines could birth fast, hybrid algorithms supercharging combinatorial search in the NISQ era. Single qubit rotations represent fundamental building blocks across quantum algorithms, including the mixer Hamiltonian exponentials leveraged within QAOA's alternating workflow. But a subtle yet pivotal design question arises. Why choose the X rotation form for mixing rather than arbitrary single qubit unitaries? What hidden principles guide this choice towards achieving advantage? In constructing quantum optimization circuits, we require two key ingredients: an initial state and controlled dynamics resonating with solution structure. The former allows encoding problem seeds, while the latter steers evolution towards quality reservoirs probed during measurement. Now, the X-rotation-driven mixer plays a dual role, preparing a uniform superposition state from the initial VOS, while enabling transverse fluctuations across search space during optimization. The symmetric superposition seeds exploration dimensionality, granting quantum access. X-mixing allows non-local transitions between bit string configurations, inducing uncertainty essential for discovery. Contrast this with arbitrary single-qubit unitaries lacking such traits. Localized mixing cannot bootstrap heterogeneity vital for diverse exploration, and contrived state initialization risks distortion or inadequate coverage without problem-aware calibration. Together, these limitations significantly slow solution conditioning and concealment. So in effect, the humble X-rotation mixer, while seemingly plain, profoundly impacts QAOA's power by granting just enough tools, seed superpositions and non-local transitions, remaining maximally agnostic of solution locations. This delicate balance between interference and uncertainty generation appears essential for optimization advances within noisy intermediates. Can we generalize such principles towards optimization transformer architectures? Thus, we uncover nature's penchant for minimal yet sufficient mechanisms, whether biological evolution or algorithmic innovations like QAOA seeking noise-resilient quantum advantage. X-mixing offers a prime embodiment, humble yet essential. Understanding the profundity behind ostensibly simple choices guides design of next-generation quantum optimization engines poised for practical speedups. The pièce de résistance enabling QAOA to embed and traverse optimization landscapes lies in the capacity to enact and entangle couplings via two qubit interactions. but the success of algorithms like QAOA is predicated on evaluating performance metrics conditional on noise. What comprising configurations calibrate benchmarks estimating quantum advantage robustly despite errors permeating fragile quantum gates? Specifically, how should we quantify the value of entanglement when interqubit links manifest as hardware Achilles heels? The problem, Hamiltonian exponentiations within QAOA necessitate multi-qubit entangling gates like cyanotas to enact correlated phase flips. These seek to accurately reflect optimization constraints linking decision variables. However, while decomposition techniques help, two-qubit coherence remains more elusive, limiting experiment complexity. Quantifying QAOA success requires qualifying the utility and depth of entanglement, calibrated against noise. But validating quantum advantage means certifying benefits that interconnections enable cannot get eclipsed by the errors they currently tolerate. Estimating with noise absent could thus exaggerate potential, demanding fastidious benchmarks. One path is deliberately injecting noise into classically simulated runs by channel modeling for conservative analysis. Comparing noisy classical executions against quantum hardware estimates via statistical hypothesis tests lets use-bound quantum capability boosts robustly by accounting for control errors explicitly. Sustaining inquiry focuses on validating outputs by solution duplication across distinct pipelines for consistency. Overall, while entanglement empowers quantum algorithms to explore vast configuration spaces rapidly, translating runtime couplings into long-term value requires responsible accounting today. Judiciously quantifying quantum utility by problem diversity upon systems purpose-built could manifest sustainable potential beyond mere speed-up chasing. But what frameworks must emerge so synergistic collaboration between quantum tool builders and problem bearers can root nascent programming paradigms robustly? The quest for useful quantum advantage will involve inquiries beyond notionally superior runtimes to responsibly assess scale translation. Benchmarking classical simulations with quantum-aware noise models against devices under scheduling constraints checks hype. Thereby, we can nurture an ecosystem, valuing hardware and software contributions equally to truly understand quantum computing's role, augmenting solutions. The parametric vectors B and G together represent QAOA's optimization knobs, classically steerable variables sculpting quantum evolution towards solutions in a feedback loop. But finite coherence constraints impose seed selection resolution. So how can we best sample QAOA's control landscape to maximize solution discovery efficiency despite optimization granularity restrictions? Specifically, can we adaptively learn measurement policies deciding parameter sets for evaluation to narrow on peaks dynamically? In QAOA, alternating unitaries conditioned on B and G angles guide state vector interference targeting low-energy eigenstates. The BG selection mechanism thus bears immense significance in directing exploratory trajectories along the optimization surface. However, noise and finite sampling bounds usable BG precision during conditioning, restricting state space carving sharpness. Optimizing these metaparameters classically requires querying expected evolution outcomes from the quantum system to update steering heuristically. But measurement outcomes only reveal localized glimpses into the state manifold contours. Evaluating at strategically chosen test points is thus key to optimize navigation. With response surface unknowns and sensing constraints, adaptive inquiry through sequential experiment design offers potential advantages. We can model current landscape uncertainty to guide next evaluation candidates, maximally gaining understanding per feedback. Such active selection of driving parameters, leveraging past learnings, could better focus optimization for quicker convergence. For instance, Bayesian optimization using Gaussian processes allows toggling between exploration targeting unseen regions versus exploitation honing on observed promising zones by uncertainty modeling. Integrating such adaptive measurement policies to tune QAOA parameters based on evaluation history poses an avenue worth investigating in the future. The principles remain universal. Where access is limited, adaptive sensing should maximize information yield per interaction through learned heuristics. Overall, intricacies behind optimizing the optimizers in QAOA reinforce the fact that not all qubits are created equal in terms of algorithmic leverage. Rather, thinking swept aside hitherto now merits first-class status to shape solution spaces exploitable. Could adopting such meta-lenses spur novel questions and cross-pollinated techniques catalyzing better quantum optimizations? The humble mixer Hamiltonian underpinning QAOA's functionality spotlights a subtle dual role, simultaneously initializing and perturbing the quantum state vector. But as algorithmic ambitions swell targeting advantage against rising classical baselines, What foundational catalysts must strengthen to boost quantum optimization prowess amidst intensifying noise? Specifically, can we constructively enhance mixing beyond transverse field models to aid solution incubation robustly? QAOA alternates evolution by the mixer Hamiltonian HO and problem Hamiltonian H1. Conceptually, the former provides an easily prepared initial state, while enabling kinetic jostling to dislodge search trajectories from local minima during training. The transverse field mixing term comprising X rotations plays this stabilizing yet destabilizing balancer act. However, as problem complexity scales, traversing intricate landscapes intensifies vulnerability to environmental and control errors. Hence, the chosen mixer model impacts optimization algorithm robustness significantly by influencing solution convergence rates. Mixing too weakly struggles escaping poor minima, while overly aggressive perturbation risks miscalibration, missing global optima. The Goldilocks mixer must tread fine lines amidst noise. Now, X-rotation mixing proves sufficient for demonstrating algorithmic returns currently, but leaves open questions on optimal modulation structure as hardware improves. For instance, should we incorporate higher Pauli mixing moments like Y or Z? Could we learn optimal mixer sequences embedding problem structure using RNNs? Such acoustic echoes through history remind that yesterday's triumphs could constrain tomorrow's visions if fettered firmly to status quo, so we must consciously seek to expand frontiers. Hence, at inflection points where quantum computation awakens, though domain complexity compounds confounding signals, we would do well to reevaluate perceived simplicities, for mixing forms the fertile foundation upon which optimization algorithms incubate solutions. Can next-generation mixing models activate untapped creative potential, unleashing truly quantum futures? The CNOT manifests entanglement, the elixir that powers QAOA's optimization ascent today. But with systems stretching limits of noise mitigation, any signs of advantage indubitably attributes to flaws that now must fade. Specifically, can we construct auxiliary interveners, like retrees or mirror stabilizations, to remedy faulty 2-qubit gates without quantifiable performance degradation accumulating? Behind QAOA's demonstrable success in navigating combinatorial searches lies the capacity to digitize quadratic couplings via two-body interactions. Entangling gates like CNOTs implement the crucial cost unitary entanglements, leading optimization convergence by Bell state synthesis. However, with noise-afflicting quantum logic fidelity increasingly as circuit length scales up, 2-qubit CNOT errors could wholly undermine algorithm returns without robust relief. Unlike repetitive code ancillas attempting correction post-fault, we must preemptively posture optimization unitaries against uncontrolled decoherence from expected errors. One idea utilizes mid-circuit detectors to dynamically validate successful operation before committing entanglement links, conditionally repeating or backing out deteriorated couplings based on quality checks before irrevocable system contamination might offer recourse at milder overheads than decoding chains. The rescue mission must economize every idling moment and guard operations judiciously against noise while balancing validation costs. So perhaps when destiny demands distributing quantum advantages, ingenious rethinking of conventional correctives will show the path ahead. By acknowledging the fragility of our quantum robe fabrics presently, we open doors for remedy rituals that restore trust in 2-qubit foundational soundness. Thereafter lies certification of unambiguous quantum advantage, fair, resilient, and quantum-born. Quantum measurement represents the observer effect in action, interrogative extraction of information that irrevocably perturbs probabilistic state vector essence. This projecting collapse enforces unanimous state commitment denying superposition sustenance. But can non-destructive indirect inferences through coherent couplings offer softer glimpses still upholding uncertainty relations? Specifically, are ancilla-mediated correlations with minimal backaction viable for quality assurance verification of intermediate algorithmic states using entanglement witnesses or thermodynamic workmeters? QAOA relies on expectation estimations from non-commuting observable measurements to steer optimization. But projective measurement collapse alters coherent states permanently, denying further reuse while revealing limited localized insights. Ensemble rebuilding needed for sequential probing countermands. Speed up aims by lengthening runtime scaling. To alleviate such demolishing disturbances, generalized positive operator valued measures explore partial collapsing choices still upholding information bounds. Alternatively, ancillar coupled correlation tracking indirectly extracts system properties by entanglement monogamy constraints without directly intervening. Quantum optical cavities permit cyclic ancillar reuse too, promising perpetually non-destructive interrogation. Thus, options exist extending quantum simulation capabilities through sharper state examination, refined minimally or indirectly. Future hybrid algorithms can fruitfully utilize such in-sequence measurement tools for orchestrating optimization by interrogating evolution trajectories non-destructively. Thereby, retaining resources promises sustained solution verification, a boon for maintaining performance at scale, so algorithms can succeed unsupervised. Circuit simulation offers a noiseless sandbox for algorithm design sans hardware while estimating runtime metrics classically. But this abstraction from physics could exaggerate speed-up predictions by modeling deficiencies blind towards engineering overheads. So, before declaring undisputed quantum advantage, how can we qualify performance metrics robustly accounting for implementation costs currently concealed? Specifically, can we incorporate holistic time cost accounting spanning algorithmic and engineering contributors using validated stack models for impartial assessment? Simulation engines today estimate QAOA benchmarking metrics like runtime scaling, solution quality thresholds, or speed-up factors by numerically iterating ideal quantum circuits. However, such analysis omits engineering costs like qubit calibration, gate synthesis, scheduling, fault tolerance, or software management while abstracting physics. Thereby, reported speed gains risk overstating advantage by underplaying implementation overheads needed eventually. Hence, we require holistic analytical frameworks spanning algorithmic, software stacks, and target hardware contributions together for complete appraisal. For instance, we can incorporate bulkhead engineering adder layers into simulations using lower bound component models validated by experiments. Thereby, accounting implementation contributions explicitly allows conservative yet balanced comparisons against classical baselines. Overall, marrying systems perspectives supplemented by bottom-up noise modeling into circuit abstraction promises impartial advantage qualification. Broadening simulation scopes beyond isolated algorithms is imperative before unfettered advantage declaration. Comprehensive characterization quoting speed-up cautiously against consolidated baselines will cement lasting quantum progress. The quantum instance abstraction in Qiskit runtimes encapsulates back-end complexity, liberating algorithm designers from hardware constraints. But will such functional firewalls alone foster sustained alliances, delivering advantage? Specifically, can provider algorithm partnerships mutualize metrics steered cooperatively to navigate noise despite modularity? Qiskit runtimes utilize quantum instances as middleware offering hardware-agnostic access to underlying quantum resources for task delegation. This enables algorithmic development decoupled from back-end nuances, spurring portable designs by insulating complexity. However, modularity alone risks disconnected efforts, failing to holistically overcome noise threats at scale collectively. Truly harnessing potential more likely emerges from cross-functional teams sharing metrics guiding co-design. Rather than simply modularizing workflows, deeper engagement through provider algorithm partnerships could better calibrate performance metrics, like noise-adapted strategies or custom topologies. Joint initiatives, co-steering figures of merit powered by shared data and motivations fuel functionality best adapted for each application. Thereby, an allied framework with accountability distributed across the stack may outlive one expecting partition alone to confer advantage automatically. Beyond modular runtimes, creative partnerships co-defining success could catalyze far-reaching functionality if rooted in shared outcomes.